Hello and good afternoon to you all. I thought that I would take this opportunity to follow up on a conversation that I had with Oleg, one of my subscribers, in comments on another video and clarify this issue for those of you who might have questions. There is an idea, I believe, which is kind of the underlying factor of why people go back and forth with trying to figure out who or what Babylon is in the end times. And Revelation 17 makes it really clear about what this is. And Old Testament prophecies make it very clear about where it will be, which correlates directly with the plain text of Revelation 17 and 18. But I think that there might be a little lack of clarity about the timing of this, which is why people believe it's something other than what is directly stated, because it doesn't presently exist. And not as is written in Revelation 17 and 18. And I think because we can't presently see it, and there's this overwhelming thought that we are about to approach, these events, that we should be able to see it. And if we can't, then it must not mean what it says. It must mean something else. But this all ties to the events of the midpoint of the 70th week. The first time that Babylon is introduced in the book of Revelation is actually in chapter 14, which is part and parcel with the aftermath of the sounding of the seventh trumpet. There are three angels that fly through the midst of the heaven. The first is revealing worldwide the mystery of God, which is the preaching of the everlasting gospel. It correlates directly to Jesus' words in Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached as a witness to all, in the world to a witness to, as a witness to all nations, and then the end shall come. And then it talks about the abomination of desolation in Matthew 24:15 through 22. Well, the preaching of the gospel worldwide is pinpointed in a couple of different spots in Revelation, but the one that I'm going to focus on for the purpose of this conversation is in Revelation 14:6 and 7. It is the angel, the first of three mentioned in that chapter, that's going to fly through the midst of the heaven, delivering a message. And again, this is part and parcel with the sounding of the seventh trumpet. In the days of the voice, this is Revelation 10:7, in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished, as he had declared to his servants the prophets. The mystery of God is Christ. It's Christ. Christ is going to be preached worldwide. Everything about Christ, specifically what is detailed in the points of the mystery of God, as listed in 1 Timothy 3:16. Without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. So Christ is going to be preached worldwide. Revelation 14. Corresponding to these things. I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven, the earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters. Worship Christ. The outcome of that is the Antichrist then causing the abomination of desolation. We know this because of the sequence of events listed in Matthew 24. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end shall come. Revelation 14:6 and 7. When ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, flee, etc. This is the transition, the movement. Israel flees as a result of that. If they don't, they're going to die. But the warning goes out amidst the seventh trumpet. And then you see this pinpointed in Revelation 12 is the revelation of the mystery of God, Revelation 12, 1 through 5. And then the woman fleeing into the wilderness, into her place where she is will be nourished for a time times half time from the face of the serpent. So she makes it into her place, 1,260 days left to go. So all these things are placed at the midpoint. But Matthew 24 says after that, there's this abomination of desolation, and that's what prompts them to flee, right? So there's a movement from the headquarters at that time from Jerusalem to Babylon. How do we know this? Well, there's a couple of different things. One of these comes from 2 Thessalonians, where it talks about the two things which must happen before the second coming of Christ. At that point, neither one had happened. And because the Thessalonians were fearful that they were approaching the day of the second coming, they were still on earth, which means they wouldn't be coming back with him. They would be on earth to be judged by him, and they were fearful of that. So Paul is reminding them of a conversation that he relayed to them when he was with them in Thessalonica on the missionary journey. He says, remember you not that when I was with you, I told you these things. Two things have to happen before the second coming of Christ. They are the two things which Daniel pinpoints in the midst of the week. In the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice, the oblation to cease, the falling away, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Revelation of the man of sin. He describes it in 2 Thessalonians 2, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. That is Daniel 11:36. The king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God, shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. It correlates directly to Revelation 13, and he's given power to continue 40 and 2 months. So these are mid-trib events. Specifically, what Jesus was referring to when he said, when ye shall therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. So we know that in 2 Thessalonians 2, Paul is referring to the abomination of desolation as mentioned in Daniel as one of the two things which must happen before Jesus returns at the second coming. Further in that chapter, he says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. This is again talking about the midpoint of the week. But it's a focal point that takes us into understanding the woman who embodies wickedness. Babylon. The revelation of the man of sin. The mystery of iniquity, of sin, of lawlessness, of wickedness doth already work. But only he who now letteth will let till he be taken out of the way, then shall that wicked be revealed. So there's a revelation of the man of sin, the man who embodies wickedness. It is at that point, after the Jewish remnant has fled and there's kind of nothing going on in Jerusalem anymore, that the base of wickedness, the revelation of the man of sin who embodies wickedness, is going to move his headquarters to the place where wickedness began. And this is where we go to Zechariah to tell us this. And this is going to match specifically what Revelation 17 and 18 tell us about Babylon. It comes from Zechariah 5. So the central theme here is wickedness, understanding the timing of the revelation of the man who embodies wickedness and the foundation of the city which embodies wickedness and when that will come to be. When things will be moved there. And it is all centered at the midpoint of the week. When the veil is lifted off of the eyes of everyone. This is the midpoint of the week following the abomination of desolation. So this is the point where central headquarters, if you will, are going to be moved from Jerusalem, around the temple, around the Jews, to Babylon. Zechariah 5. And the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up thine eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, what is this? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. This is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. The woman is Babylon, which we're going to learn about in Revelation. He said, this is wickedness. So you have a man that embodies wickedness, the revelation of the man of sin, man of wickedness, this wicked shall be revealed, headquartered in a city that embodies wickedness. The woman is that great city. What great city? Babylon the Great. He said, this is the wickedness. And he cast into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings. For they had the wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the heaven and earth. And I said to the angel that talked with me, whither do these bear the ephah? He said unto me, to build it in an house in the land of Shinar. This goes back to Genesis 10, and the original plains of Shinar, one world, everything, Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, where Babylon comes from. It's not like modern day Babylon in Iraq. It's on the plains of Shinar where the original Tower of Babel was built. That's where it will be. He said unto me, to build it in an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. The original base of wickedness, going all the way back to Genesis, is on the plains of Shinar where the Tower of Babel was built. That will be reinstituted in the end times after the abomination of desolation, when the revelation of that wicked shall be revealed, goes to the place where wickedness was begotten, which is on the plains of Shinar relating to Babel. How do we know that this happens at the midpoint? Because that's what the second angel in Revelation 14 flies through the midst of the heaven, foretelling is the imminent destruction of Babylon. It moves to be headquartered there, and the angel's telling you it's gonna be destroyed. So it's brought into the conversation where it becomes relevant. And where it becomes relevant, it is specifically foretold that it will be destroyed, which you see 3.5 years later. So the second angel, there followed another angel in Revelation 14:8, saying Babylon is fallen. That is not saying that it's happening at that point in time, but that it is a prophesied imminent foretelling of that event. That great city, and this is going to come into play in Revelation 17, because it says, I will tell you the mystery of the woman. She is a city. What city? Babylon the Great. She's a great city because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So 3.5 years later, you see in Revelation 17 all of this imagery depicting the actual destruction of the city. There came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, well, actually, I'll start in Revelation 16. This is after the 7th vial is poured out. In Revelation 16:17, the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air. There came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. So all of the judgments are complete. There were voices and thunderings and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. The great city was divided into 3 parts. That's Jerusalem. How do we know that? Because Jerusalem has already been referred to as the great city in Revelation 11. Talking about the death of the 2 witnesses in Revelation 11:8, their bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So a reference to the great city, not anything capitalized, just the great city, is talking about Jerusalem. The original reference point is made in Revelation 11:8, and it is made secondarily in Revelation 16, when it's talking about the mighty earthquake and Jerusalem being divided into 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon, differentiated from the great city, which is Jerusalem. Great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Every island fled away. The mountains were not found, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed God because of the plague of hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So then we get into the actual discussion of Babylon. There is imagery that is explained in detail in Revelation 17, and you actually see the destruction of the city as the last course of business. It's between the sounding of the pouring out of the 7th vial and the second coming of Christ. It is destroyed in an hour. So Revelation 17:1, there came one of these 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So this is going to be the woman lifted up, carried in an ephah, and set upon her own base in the land of Shinar. The woman wickedness. So this is going to be the fulfillment of Zechariah's prophecy in Zechariah 5. So the woman sitting upon many waters. The waters are described as, in verse 15, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are people and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now to contrast, because there was some confusion about Babylon being Jerusalem, no, it is not. And we know this because the great whore Babylon is actually contrasted to the bride, New Jerusalem, in Revelation 21, the city of God. One is an honorable union, one is not, describing the city of God versus the city which is set against God. So these are not the same. So Revelation 17:2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So this is anti-God action. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman, again, Zechariah 5's woman embodying wickedness, sit upon a scarlet colored beast. We already learned about the beast from Revelation 13. So the woman is sitting on the beast, essentially exercising control over the beast. That is what a rider does to the animal it is riding, is it controls it. And as a result of being controlled, the beast hates her, and he along with the 10 kings burn her with fire eventually, but we'll get to that. The beast having 7 heads and 10 horns. And again, that comes from imagery that we would have already seen in Revelation 13. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, like royalty would be, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So again, we're learning about something that is anti-God, which has control over, I don't even want to say system, but control over the beast itself, control over the Antichrist. Upon her forehead was a name written. There's actually 3. The first is mystery, comma. There's no such thing as mystery Babylon. It is mystery as the first descriptor. Then there's a comma, Babylon the Great. And then there's another comma, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. So there is no such thing as mystery Babylon. There is a mystery when you go to the last verse of the chapter. Actually, it says, verse 7 of that same chapter, the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman. So the first characterization that we come across is that there's a mystery associated with her. And the angel says, I'm going to tell you what the mystery is. And then he ends the chapter by doing that. The woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, which is the woman riding the beast, because she controls the beast. She sits on many waters. So she controls everything. The mystery is that she is a city. It's the great city. The woman which thou sawest is that great city. What great city? Which is why the next descriptor is Babylon the Great, because it's telling you what great city. Babylon the Great, referring back to the original one world everything Nimrod, Genesis 10, on the plains of Shinar, Babel. Zechariah 5 tells you wickedness is going to be set upon her base in the land of Shinar. And you have specific descriptions of the destruction, which is detailed in Revelation 18, also detailed in Jeremiah 50 and 51, and Isaiah 13. So the mystery is that she's a city. What city? Babylon the Great. And what does that represent? The mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Again, contrasted with the bride, the city of God, New Jerusalem. She is everything that is anti-God. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints, with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. That's when the angel tells him not to marvel and tells John that he's going to tell him the mystery of the woman. When you see in Revelation 18, the city destroyed in 1 hour, you see that is the avenging of the blood of the martyrs that died at her hand. Ultimately, Jesus is not going to destroy Babylon. The beast and the 10 kings are, because God is going to put it in their heart to accomplish his purpose. This is the reason that the 10 kings give their power to the beast for an hour, because she will be destroyed in an hour. And this literally feeds right into the second coming of Christ, as Isaiah 13 discusses. So going back to Revelation 17:12, the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, they shall give their power and strength to the beast for 1 hour. They shall make war with the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords, King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. The Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. He saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, Babylon, the woman, shall make her desolate, and naked shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Again, this goes to Jeremiah 50 and 51 and Isaiah 13. For God hath put it in their heart to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And then in 18, you see the actual destruction of the city. And then in Revelation 19, you see Jesus coming back. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. So that is a very brief conversation about the timing, like who and what is Babylon and the timing of Babylon. That is not going, excuse me, that is not going to be, that is not going to be a first half of the week thing. That's going to be a second half of the week thing. Everything to doing with wickedness will be revealed and instigated at the midpoint and into the second half of the 70th week. Before then, there's still veils over everything. Just like 2 Thessalonians 2 says, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let till he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed. And when that wicked is revealed, the city which embodies wickedness will also be the new headquarters, which everything will stem from, which is why you have a reference to it just after the sounding of the seventh trumpet in Revelation 14, foretelling of what will happen to the city, which has now been installed as the headquarters of the beast kingdom. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, let me know. But that's just kind of how that all is going to wind up playing out. And we are not going to be around to see any of it, thankfully. I'll see you guys later.